Indeed, I knew Jane Drew and Maxwell Fry because when I was finished with the AA course, I went straight on and took the first tropical school course that was initiated by them in 1955. And it's interesting, I've just talked now with a young Portuguese architect who's writing up the history of the tropical school. So she's been asking the same questions. And Fry and Drew taught it together, although people seem to call it Fry's course. We know what that's about. And they were doing a lot of work in Africa and India and of course Chandigarh and all of that. And so they had a great vocabulary of ideas. This young architect from Portugal would have called them post-colonial ideas. And I, as an African, had similar feelings about them. Bob had a theories course, but no one realizes that I was teaching the first semester and he was teaching the second semester. It was very different. I was there as an assistant and faculty gave lectures. No one at 29 would have given me that role. Bob was already 35 or something. And so at the same time, I began organizing the intellectual connections between these things, and that grew to be the Learning from Las Vegas research. And that grew from my course, stretched to his course, and we worked together from about 1960. We talked a great deal. And you see, the interesting thing was there was no one else at Penn who knew as much about what interested him as I did. Like I was the one who told him about those 4 big books of Lutyens' houses. He knew the work of Lutyens in the city of London, but he didn't know his residential work. And we went to the Princeton Library one weekend, and I found that book. I said, "Do you like these books?" And I'd taken the courses by Summerson, which covered mannerism, but the Smithsons had a great interest in it, and it was rediscovered and written about by Pevsner in the 40s in London. Bob discovered mannerism in the last 2 weeks of when he was in Rome. So what he learned about mannerism was then and subsequent reading in history, and a lot of reading of things like Lutyens. So when we met, we had that as an interest. We had this interest in breaking the rules. He from his childhood and background, and I from my interest in African, influence on Africans of industrial situations they came into in cities. You can see, I've got one here. I've got a soda pop bottle with African beads around it. Can you see it there? It'd be nice to show. There. You see that? That's meant to be a gourd. But on the outskirts of Johannesburg, it becomes, these are all love messages. They're billboards, little billboards. And that's a very standard pattern of a certain African nation. And the fact that it's now, I wish this was a Coca-Cola bottle that would make it complete. But there it is. We've got Coca-Cola bottles in Japanese. And the first billboard I took in Africa, which was in 1956, I photographed one in Mozambique. And it was in Mozambique, but it said, "Things go better with Coca-Cola." It's not been easy, but also I think we evolved a very special firm. And life is hard for architects and young architects. And if clients paid what they paid lawyers, young architects wouldn't work as long and hard as they do. They are low hourly rate, and we need that because we're getting paid very low fees. I had a lawyer client once, and he said, "Tell me, why is my son-in-law earning so little money in an architecture firm? What's wrong with you people?" I said, "Well, just think how much money you're paying us." And that's the truth, and it's a bigger truth than that. A construction project from the loan to the finishing has to involve a few thousand people. I think many projects, not a house baby, but most others. And we run the timetable for that whole thing, and we must keep that timetable as brief as we can because of the construction loan. Clients paying interest, and saying, "Hurry up, hurry up." So we must put together people who don't charge very much and will work very long. Now we have to give them every opportunity we can to actualize themselves. And young architects tell us that we do that, and that they've loved working for us. It's partly through our academic experience. We had to nurture students in the studio, and we could take that same attitude in the workplace. And I had great fun running an office. I thought I'd miss academic life so much, and I didn't, because I found I preferred practice in the end, though I loved them both. As for prizes themselves, I'm of the school of thought of Groucho Marx, who says, any club who would want me, I wouldn't want to belong to. And that's lack of self-esteem, I admit that. So you say, okay, the fact that they gave it to me means it wasn't so great anyway. And I work against that. You can't help having the feelings you have that come from your childhood. Roman Dutch law in South Africa makes a woman a minor. When she's married, her husband must sign everything for her. But I went into architecture school, and the first studio I went into said, what are all these men doing here? Because I thought architecture was women's work. So all of these conflicts that I have, because I really thought I was going into a woman's profession, then I find I can't do this, I can't do that. And then I feel unfeminine when I fight, and the men show me what they feel. But in the end, I'm happy to have those prizes, and I really feel that there are so many women who smile at me, and a lot of men, and my prize is better than the Pritzker Prize. The petition is my prize. Thank you, Architects Journal and Architectural Review, for your part in the Jane Drew Prize, your responsibility for it as part of the Women in Architecture Awards. This has been a wonderful thing for me, particularly your attitude and your positive energy around this has been a marvelous atmosphere to have existed in, and it led to so much. It led to the petition, which has brought happiness to my old age. You just have to put it that way. And bringing those together, those two journals, separate then, were very important to me in my young life. And they've now come together to produce a very special atmosphere, I feel. And that is the beginning of why I'm sitting here now and thanking you.